I'm Emily Carter, 32 years old, and my husband, Adam Carter, was 35 when he passed away suddenly. We had been married for 8 years, and I thought we had a perfect life. From the outside, people saw smiles, travel pictures, parties, and vacations. But for Adam and me, life was built on tiny, intimate moments, coffee in the morning while sharing silly jokes, whispering our dreams to each other at night, holding hands while doing nothing at all. He wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend, my safe place, the person I imagined growing old with. Adam was intelligent, caring, and surprisingly funny in ways only I could understand. I remember one night when we were decorating the living room for our anniversary. I accidentally knocked over a lamp, and he laughed so hard that tears rolled down his cheeks. I wanted to capture that moment forever. It felt like a photograph etched in my soul. Those little things, those mundane moments, are what made our life extraordinary. Then, out of nowhere, tragedy struck. Adam went to the hospital complaining of severe chest pain. I was terrified, thinking it might be something minor, but within hours, I received the devastating news. Adam was gone. Just like that, my world crumbled. The funeral was surreal. People hugged me, offered condolences, and spoke in hushed, sympathetic tones, but grief is a lonely place. I felt like I was standing in a fog of disbelief, trying to remember how he used to smile, how he used to hum in the kitchen, how he'd leave tiny notes for me around the house. Days passed, and the house felt empty, silent, and suffocating. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't imagine life without him. I kept replaying our memories, searching for signs, for some reason, for anything that would make sense of his sudden departure. Then one afternoon, while I was sitting on the couch staring at his favorite chair, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Our friends and family had already visited. Hesitantly, I walked to the door and opened it, and there she was, my sister, Vanessa. She looked calm, composed, but there was a strange intensity in her eyes, the kind that makes you uneasy before you even hear the words. In her hands, she held a thick envelope. "Emily," she said softly, "I need to show you something important." I gestured for her to come in. My heart was already racing. Something about her tone told me this wasn't just a friendly visit. She handed me the envelope, her fingers trembling ever so slightly. I opened it, and inside was a document she claimed was Adam's will. My stomach dropped as I scanned the pages. According to her, half of our $800,000 house was meant for her son, Ethan, because he was supposedly Adam's child. I froze. My mind refused to process what I was seeing. Grief mixed with anger, disbelief, and confusion. How could she do this to me at a time when I was still mourning my husband? How could she think this was acceptable? "Emily," Vanessa said, leaning forward, her voice almost pleading, "Adam wanted Ethan to have this. You don't understand. You weren't supposed to know." I blinked. Slowly, realization began to surface. Something inside me screamed that this couldn't be true. Adam had a vasectomy years ago. There was no possible way he could have fathered another child. My mind raced, but I forced myself to remain calm. I needed evidence. Facts. Not tears. Not anger. "Vanessa," I said steadily, "I need to see all the documents. Everything you have." Her confident facade faltered slightly, but she handed over more papers, emails, notes, and other documents she claimed were proof. I thanked her politely and told her I would review them. The moment she left, I closed the door, took a deep breath, and began what would become a painstaking investigation into her claims. I contacted Adam's doctor first, confirming the medical procedure and reviewing the dates. I combed through emails and messages, trying to find anything that would indicate Adam had hidden a secret life. Slowly, the truth revealed itself. Every document Vanessa had shown me was forged. Her handwriting, signatures, and the supposed legal notes were all falsified. She had planned this in advance, knowing I would be vulnerable during my grief. Sitting in the living room surrounded by evidence, I felt a wave of mixed emotions. Relief that Adam's legacy was intact, anger that my own sister had tried to manipulate me, and sadness for the betrayal itself. I realized how carefully she had orchestrated everything, from subtle hints to the documents meant to break me. I didn't react immediately. Instead, I began planning how I would confront her. This was more than about money. It was about protecting Adam's memory, our home, and my own peace of mind. I knew that the confrontation had to be strategic. I couldn't let emotions take control. When I finally called Vanessa to meet, she arrived confident, almost smug, thinking she had me cornered. I remained calm. I placed all the evidence in front of her: emails, medical records, and the forged will. Her eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing her face. I don't, she stammered, but I interrupted. Vanessa, Adam had a vasectomy. Every document you showed me is forged. You tried to use my grief against me, and it failed. This ends now. You will never manipulate me again. For a long moment, she didn't speak. I could see the realization dawning on her face. Her plan had failed. She had underestimated me, my knowledge of Adam's life, and my resolve. Eventually, she slumped back in her chair, defeated. I blocked her from contacting me and began making arrangements with lawyers to ensure Adam's estate was protected. The house, the savings, everything Adam and I had built together was safe. I could finally breathe, even if only a little. Weeks passed, and the initial fog of grief began to lift. I sold some parts of the house and donated portions of money to charities Adam had loved. Each day, I focused on memories, the love we had shared, and the lessons I had learned about trust, vigilance, and self-respect. Vanessa never contacted me again. I didn't seek revenge. Her greed had already isolated her, and my calm, evidence-based approach had protected everything I valued. The betrayal could have broken me, but instead, it strengthened me. Hi everyone. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button, because the next part of this story gets even more shocking. After my first confrontation with Vanessa, I thought I had seen the worst of her. I was wrong. That night, as I sat in Adam's study surrounded by memories, his favorite books, his old journal, our wedding photos, I realized that Vanessa's plan might run deeper than I had imagined. She hadn't just forged documents. She had tried to plant seeds of doubt in my mind, subtly twisting memories, suggesting that Adam had been hiding secrets. I started by going through every email Adam had sent in the last 2 years. At first, it was overwhelming. Hundreds of messages, many mundane, a few work-related, but nothing to suggest a hidden life. Still, I looked for anything unusual, any mention of Vanessa or Ethan. There was nothing. My heart raced with a mix of fear and hope. Fear that I might find something I didn't want to know, hope that my initial instincts were right. Then I checked the financial records. Every transaction, every account, every investment was consistent with Adam's usual behavior. There were no hidden accounts, no secret transfers, nothing that would support Vanessa's claim. I even compared signatures from the supposed forged will with verified documents Adam had signed over the years. The differences were obvious once you looked carefully. She had clearly studied Adam's handwriting to make the forgery look authentic, but small details gave her away. Still, the more I uncovered, the more anxious I became. Vanessa was dangerous, not physically, but emotionally. She knew how to manipulate people, and she had clearly done her homework. The thought that she might try again kept me awake at night. I imagined her walking into my house while I slept, trying to intimidate me or plant new lies. That fear, however, became my fuel. I knew I had to be one step ahead. The next morning, I decided to confront her indirectly. I sent a carefully worded message: "We need to meet. There are details that must be clarified. Please bring everything you have regarding Adam's will and Ethan's claim." I wanted her to think she had the upper hand, but in reality, I had prepared meticulously. When Vanessa arrived, she carried herself with that same confident air, but I noticed subtle signs of tension. She was aware, deep down, that her plan might be exposed. I stayed calm, letting her speak first. "Emily," she said, almost smugly, "I brought everything you need to see. You'll realize that Adam wanted this. He cared about Ethan. You don't understand." I nodded, pretending to review the documents she handed me. Inside, there were more letters, some supposedly from Adam, expressing concern for Ethan. But as I read carefully, I noticed inconsistencies in tone, phrasing, even the type of paper. These were classic signs of forgery, too calculated, too artificial, lacking the warmth Adam's writing always had. I had learned from the first confrontation, she would not admit anything willingly. So I let her continue, listening quietly as she tried to justify every fake document. Each lie she told only made her seem more desperate, more unstable. Her eyes darted around the room, and I could see the cracks in her confidence. At this point, I decided to escalate carefully. I revealed the proof I had gathered, Adam's medical records confirming his vasectomy, emails from him showing no connection to Vanessa or Ethan, and authentic documents with verified signatures. Her face went pale. For the first time, I saw fear where once there had been arrogance. "You see, Vanessa," I said softly, "every single claim you've made is false. This forgery, this manipulation, it stops now. Adam would never have hidden a child from me, and you have no right to manipulate grief for your own gain." For a few moments, she didn't speak. Then, in a desperate attempt, she tried to argue that love and intention mattered more than facts. But I was prepared. Calmly, I reminded her that legal action would follow if she attempted anything further. The tension in the room was unbearable, yet I stayed composed. After hours of discussion, reviewing documents, and quietly letting her realize the futility of her scheme, she finally admitted defeat, though she didn't apologize. The smirk she had arrived with was gone, replaced by unease and silence. That night, I reflected on everything. The manipulation, the forged documents, the betrayal, it had all been carefully orchestrated to exploit my grief. But the lesson was clear: preparation, evidence, and calm resolve were far more powerful than anger or retaliation. Vanessa had underestimated me, and that was her undoing. I began securing the house, arranging legal safeguards, and contacting Adam's lawyer to ensure nothing could ever threaten our assets. The relief I felt was immense. I was still grieving Adam, but I had regained a sense of control, a way to honor his memory without fear. Over the next few days, I noticed subtle changes. Vanessa didn't contact me again, and I learned through other family members that her reputation among relatives had begun to crumble. Her attempt to manipulate me had backfired spectacularly. Even as I mourned, I started to focus on healing. I cleaned the house room by room, creating spaces filled with Adam's memory but free from Vanessa's intrusion. I looked through old letters, photos, and souvenirs, letting nostalgia mix with acceptance. The grief was still there, but it no longer felt suffocating. I realized that what Vanessa had tried to take from me wasn't just a house or money, it was a part of my peace, my connection to Adam, my sense of security. By standing firm, gathering evidence, and confronting her strategically, I reclaimed all of that. Emily Carter, me, was no longer just the grieving widow. I had become a protector of my life, my love, and my dignity. And that realization gave me strength I hadn't known I possessed. Hi everyone! If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do that now, because this part will reveal the shocking conclusion and how Emily reclaimed her life. After days of preparing, gathering evidence, and mentally bracing myself, I was ready for the final confrontation with Vanessa. I knew that this moment would determine not just the fate of Adam's estate, but also my peace of mind. I wanted to face her with clarity, control, and undeniable proof. When she arrived, she carried that same false confidence, but this time I noticed something different. Her hands were shaking slightly, her posture tense. She had sensed that I was no longer the grieving, vulnerable Emily she had hoped to exploit. I calmly gestured for her to sit and placed the stack of evidence I had gathered in front of her: medical records proving Adam's vasectomy, authentic documents, emails, and the original signed papers. "Vanessa," I said firmly, "everything you have shown me is forged. You tried to manipulate me, to steal what was never yours. Adam never hid a child from me. Your story is a lie, and it ends today." Her smirk faltered, replaced by panic. For a moment, I thought she might try to escape or even lash out. But the moment passed. She opened her mouth to speak, but I didn't allow her a chance to manipulate me with words. I presented the proof point by point, showing the inconsistencies, the forged signatures, and the evidence of her planning. You see, Vanessa, I continued, I have every detail covered. If you try to take any legal or financial action, it will backfire. Adam's legacy, our home, and everything we built together remain protected. This is your last warning. Her face went pale. The arrogance that had carried her this far was gone, replaced by fear and resignation. For the first time, she realized that her scheme had completely failed. She slumped in her chair, defeated, unable to argue further. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I simply stayed calm, letting the evidence speak for itself. I had learned that control and preparation are stronger than anger. By the time our meeting ended, Vanessa was silent, humiliated, and powerless. After she left, I felt a strange mixture of relief and exhaustion. The weight of her betrayal still lingered, but I had reclaimed my sense of security. I immediately contacted Adam's lawyer to ensure that all legal safeguards were in place. The house, the savings, and Adam's estate were fully protected. Over the next few weeks, I focused on healing. I reorganized the house, keeping memories of Adam alive while creating spaces free of anxiety and fear. I went through old photographs, letters, and souvenirs, remembering our love, our dreams, and even the little everyday moments that had once felt ordinary but were now priceless. I also decided to take proactive steps. I donated a portion of the inheritance to a charity Adam had always loved, ensuring that part of his legacy continued to make a positive impact. It was a small act, but it gave me peace and closure. Vanessa never contacted me again. Through other family members, I learned that her failed attempt had caused tension in her own life. She had tried to use manipulation and deceit to gain something that was never hers, and in doing so, she had isolated herself from many people. I didn't celebrate her downfall, I simply moved forward, stronger and wiser. Looking back, I realize how much this ordeal taught me. Grief can make you vulnerable, but preparation, evidence, and self-respect can shield you from manipulation. Betrayal from someone you trust is painful, but it can also reveal inner strength you didn't know existed. I learned that revenge isn't necessary. Reclaiming control and protecting what's yours is far more empowering. Today, I live with a renewed sense of purpose. I honor Adam's memory by cherishing the life we built together and by continuing to protect the legacy he left behind. I am no longer just Emily, the grieving widow. I am Emily, the protector of her love, her life, and her dignity. And Vanessa? She remains a reminder that not everyone has good intentions, even among family. But I have chosen peace, and that peace is unshakable. No one can take away the love, memories, and lessons that truly belong to you. I survived betrayal, and I thrived, not by seeking revenge, but by standing strong, prepared, and resolute.